Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 262 Oliveira versus Chandler. So without further ado, let's get to the first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, Soriano versus Giagos. So look at this one. I'm actually a little bit concerned about Soriano in a way. I'm leaning to the Giagos, but Soriano does look real crisp on the feet, but again, you gotta lean to his historics and not what other people are talking about, unless they're really showing that in the camp. Because Chandler's sizing up Soriano striking and sizing up that, and Soriano is on a good streak. And you know you've been out of UFC a long time, so you want to come make a statement, want to come in your best shape and whatnot. But I lean to historics. His grappling has never looked the best. Has never done the best against aggressive grapplers with good top control. And Giagos is that. Giagos an amazing fighter. No, is Soriano an amazing fighter? Hasn't proved to be that either. So they're really around the same level, if not Giagos being better. Soriano definitely has more experience and had more fights in the UFC, but he's been away from the UFC for a while. And in the fights he has he has not really had to deal with grappling. Maybe in the training he has, but look again, another fighter that has trained with around the same people. Michael Johnson, he's supposed to train with Kamaru Usman, Michael Chandler, and several other good wrestlers. But when it comes to fighting, he's been fighting for all this time and training all this time and losing the same exact way, but still nothing has changed for Michael Johnson. So come from the same camp. Like, just because you train with some people don't mean you're ever going to fix your whole. Like, you could train with people all day, but you continue to focus on striking and not really doing the due diligence on your grappling. The same is going to continue to happen. And I can see the same happen with Soriano, or at least for the fact that I have not seen him address that area. Like, he knocked out Noah Lahat, but the fight lasted like literally 2 minutes and there was really no grappling at all in that fight. So what did that? He only had like, what, a 3-fight winning streak, and prior to that lost another submission loss. So I can't really lean to it. I think Giagos is going to be able to be aggressive. I don't think Giagos is a bad striker, but definitely leaning the striking to Soriano. I think Giagos is competent enough. And when you look at Giagos, it's only his losses that come to better grapplers like Charles Oliveira and Gilbert Burns, who are freaking beasts at grappling, and Chris Wade, who's a real solid wrestler, and Jakar Close, who is a guy who comes from a gym with a lot of good grapplers, and he can at least defend Giagos, and it was still a tight fight, or address Giagos grappling. So in case he lost to some guy that just was a striker. He lost to people that all had good grappling bases or phenomenal grappling bases. And Soriano's grappling has not looked good. So I'm leaning to Giagos just off historics to be able to out-grapple him, outwork him, and grind out a decision over Soriano. So in this one, I have Giagos by decision. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Kevin Aguilar versus Tucker Lutz. And that's this one right here. This is really a momentum pick for me. I feel like Aguilar does have a style to beat Lutz. Like, he really should beat Lutz and stop Lutz, maybe even. I'm probably reaching with that. But he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and his last fight against Charles Rosa was disgusting, to be honest. Like, he looked like he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to cut the cage off. He let Charles Rosa do the most pathetic strikes and get away with him. He let Charles Rosa look like he was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and Kevin Aguilar like a street bum in that fight. It was terrible. But somehow it was a split decision. I don't see how, but it was terrible. Just straight terrible. He just like a straight up amateur in that fight. And I know it's a difference because Tucker Lutz is not going to be a fighter fighting at distance against him. So apparently Aguilar doesn't know how to fight people that don't, come to him. So I guess that's something to look at. But Tucker Lutz is going to come to him. So again, that opens up opportunities for Aguilar. Tucker Lutz is still a very rookie-ish fighter. But again, this is a very much a momentum pick. A 3-fight losing streak. Looked horrendous in his last fight. Got knocked out in one of his 3 last fights. And yeah, so it's like a momentum pick. And Tucker Lutz is a young, up-and-coming fighter who he shows some good skills. Like, he shows good cardio. That's always a good thing to have. Good heart, good mindset. But pretty much everything kind of basic. But the heart and the mindset is there, and the willingness to get better, and the willingness to push the pace on Aguilar. I don't feel like he'll be able to just go out there and just close shop on Aguilar and just take him down all easy and just grind out a decision over. I think there's a case where he's going to outwork Aguilar, be up underneath him, getting cage control time, trying to work on to scoop him up and drag him down, but not really secure anything, be drawing punches off the break of the clinches. It really just be a case of outworking Aguilar. Aguilar has a style, he's good at defending takedowns, but Tucker Lutz going to make it dirty, be aggressive, and outwork him in a very close, tight fight, I see. So in this one, I have Tucker Lutz by decision. Now to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Gina Mazany versus Priscilla Cachoeira. And simple with this one, I think Cachoeira definitely had opportunities on the feet. Mazany is just a jack of all trades, in good shape. Not the best fighter, not the best fighter, not the best striker, not the best grappler, but she will go in and look out there, look for the takedown. She come out there with her six pack, well chiseled, good cardio. But again, it's a fighter that's not that great in any area, so she's still stick in the middle of the pack. We got a fighter like Cachoeira who has a glaring hole in her grappling and seems to have not addressed it. I'm leaning to Gina Mazany to be able to mix up on the feet enough and mix in takedowns and just outwork, outsmart, and be the more well-rounded fighter in this fight. So in this one, I have Gina Mazany by decision. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Jamie Pickett versus Jordan Wright. And how I see this one right here is that I look at Jordan Wright. He's a pretty solid striker, but on the inside he's horrendous. Chin hangs up and don't got the best chin at all. But at distance he could be a problem. But now he's going against a guy just as long as him, and a guy who, when he is aggressive, can do some serious damage. And Jordan Wright, like I said, only look good when he was able to fight these fighters that are shorter, slower, and not the best, and be able to pick them apart from a distance. But when he fight, every time he fights a fighter that's not over the hill and not beneath him is completely his skills, like he seems to get this straight up blitzkrieg and knocked out. Was on a Contender Series, was against Joaquin Buckley. So I feel like if Jamie Pickett comes in aggressive, closes that distance like tactfully, and then explodes on him, I feel like he'll be able to find that shit and be able to put him out. And I think he'll do it in the first round. So in this one, I have Jamie Pickett. Also, Jamie Pickett is the more well-rounded fighter, I think. I think his grappling is better. But right, technically wise, probably the better striker, but defensively wise and that chin wise, I feel like Jamie Pickett will have the edge there as well. And length wise, they're pretty both long fighters, so Jordan Wright won't had that same advantage he'll typically have over a lot of fighters. So in this one, I have Jamie Pickett via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Andrea Lee versus Antonina Shevchenko. And so I got a quick little update from here. I think Andrea Lee has supposedly went to some elevation gym and training with the right people now, so that's what's swaying a lot of people to pick differently. And if that's enough to sway your pick and make you pick Andrea Lee, good for you, good for her, and whatnot. Good for the odds for whoever which may play. This is still a pick and fight, or at least a somewhat pick and fight. So any little small thing can lean you one way or lean you the other way, but I still don't think that's going to necessarily help Andrea Lee by going to a different camp just in one camp. Sometimes it takes multiple camps for you to evolve. It's not like, oh, I'm getting all of a sudden I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm gonna go to this gym, and then one day, like, I'm gonna learn this. Oh, I don't know nothing about surgery, but I'm gonna go to a surgery school for 2 months. Also, I'm gonna be a surgeon, and I don't really work like that. It takes time to really develop, and especially that's why sometimes it takes people leaving the UFC and working at a new gym training at a new gym for like a year, 2-3 years for it to really settle in. So I'm not really gonna lean to it just off one move for one camp, just to one gym. Especially if it's not a case of you're just going to a different gym, and that gym's purely focused around you, got all this science and all this money, you got like millions of dollars, like let's say Logan Paul or Jake Paul, which is true, or Conor McGregor, and you can pretty much pay anyone to give you all their undivided attention, and multiple people to give you undivided attention for every single specific area, all the nights of training. But you're just a poor, regular deal fighter. It ain't gonna do much for you typically. And I think Antonina Shevchenko is with the best fighter in this weight class, in her younger sister, or I don't know if they're younger or not, but with her sister. And her sister definitely, you can see her skill set definitely improving rapidly. So I feel that's going to rub off on Shevchenko a bit. So anything Andrea Lee is going to really learn, I don't think it's going to play too much of a factor against Shevchenko, unless the best thing she can do is move her head so she don't get her mouthpiece knocked out again. But I still think Antonina Shevchenko is the better striker between the two. Grappling wise, going to be a lean for whoever it is can initiate better and timing better. But I think it's a fight that's definitely going to play out more on the feet. Maybe more in the clinch, but I don't see it on the ground that much. But I think Antonina Shevchenko outstrikes Andrea Lee in this one. So in this one, I have Antonina Shevchenko by decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Mike Grundy versus Lando Vannata. And how I see this one right here is I think Lando Vannata has been out-grappled sometimes, but really the fights that he lost have become to when he is outstruck. And when he outstruck, he gets demoralized. And then from that point, grappling opens up. Mike Grundy his striking is iffy, and I'm gonna say it's more passable. He got some power. He's athletic. He definitely has a decent striking game, but it's not really the greatest. Like, it really all falls behind his grappling. And to be honest, you are any bit decent, you should not be scared of Grundy striking at all. Like, I'm not saying disrespect it, but you shouldn't come in like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Guy is so dangerous every single where. His striking really isn't the most dangerous outside of his power and athleticism. He got a couple little strikes here and there, but really when you look at Grundy, look at the Mosvar Everlove fight. All he did was just spam takedowns, didn't get any real true control time, and only had like 20 significant strikes. That's the true Mike Grundy when he goes against a fighter that can, at least defend his grappling and strike with him. Like his striking isn't that great. When he goes against a guy that's like a matchup with him, like another wrestler striker type fighter, he's gonna open up more. But he's not. I don't see him as a true striker. I feel like he's gonna try to work that game more against Vannata. But I just think Vannata is just a much more fluid, much more experienced striker, much more crisp, much more dangerous, more tools. And also Vannata comes as decent takedown defense. I mean, solid takedown defense and good scramble ability. Like unless to the point like a Mark Giagos fight where Mark Giagos just picked him apart on the feet and broke him mentally and then was able to get those things. I don't see Grundy doing that. I feel like Vannata can have all types of answers for Grundy's wrestling, be able to catch him with flying knees, scramble, catch the wizard, stand back up, and just be creative out there and take advantage of a fighter that's, coming almost with a one-track mind, maybe a takedown, maybe try to come with an overhand off the takedown, and Vannata just staying right through it, being quicker, being faster, and just really picking apart Grundy. I think Grundy's going to be relentless. I don't see him getting stopped, but I do see him getting exploited for his, being telegraphing his movements or being predictable. And I see Vannata outstriking him and beating him to a decision. So in this one, I have Lando Vannata by decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Renato Souza or Jacare Souza versus Andre Muniz. And I see this one right here. I think Muniz has got a good frame. He's a young guy, but Souza is definitely the better grappler. I think, like I said, Muniz is bigger, probably stronger at this point. But Souza is still the better grappler. And I just still see Muniz as this big raw talent. So you don't really know what you're going to get with him just yet. And you might be trying to bet on Souza aging and it's time for a new breed. But I'm not all that hype on Muniz. His takedown defense didn't look that great. His jiu-jitsu was solid. But I feel like Souza can score takedowns on him. I feel like Souza can... Souza has not... I can't recall Souza being submitted in his MMA career. I don't think this is going to be the fight he gets submitted in either. Or necessarily out-grappled, even though he had that Hermanson fight where he got out-grappled. But I really see Souza being able to score takedown, pressure, land heavy shots on Muniz, get him to react. And also, I think Muniz doesn't respond the best to striking. And his cardio has been issues. Like, he go for these takedowns and try to hold it on the ground. So I feel like Souza could stuff his takedowns. And I feel like really Souza is pushing back, cracking with shots, sprawl on him heavy, land some shots, get him to fall back in the guard, and really just land heavy strikes on him in the guard. And really that's been a rinse and repeat. Just walking him down, landing heavy shots, get him to shoot sloppy shots, sprawling on him, land ground and pound. Muniz falls back into his guard, and then just Souza is landing ground and pound in his guard, and Muniz going for submission attempts to no avail, and then Jacare just landing heavy ground and pound on him, not getting the stoppage, but pretty much a clean cut, really dominant decision over Muniz. So in this one, I have Jacare Souza by decision. Now to our next fight, we have our first fight on the main card in the bantamweight division. Matt Schnell versus Rogerio Bontorin. And I see this one right here is Bontorin definitely looked good in his fight against Kai France until he didn't look good and got knocked out. And Matt Schnell, I haven't really seen him go against a real strong grappler, like a fighter that really could put him on the ground and really put that strength on him and like be a real aggressive grappler. So that's a real interesting match for Bontorin. I mean, that interesting threat that Bontorin can, or interesting challenge that Bontorin can present to Schnell in this one, or Schnell in this one. But I'm going to lean to Matt Schnell in this one. I feel like he has some underrated grappling on his side. Bontorin, I would definitely lean to the better grappler, but I think Matt Schnell is clearly the better overall fighter, longer, much more fluid, much better striking, real crisp, could stick that jab on Bontorin, not be a stationary target, make those takedowns hard to come by. If he starts leaning his head out there too much, start him with some chokes, and whether to go for the choke or just to alleviate the grip of Bontorin and make him dink just to get back to the feet and continue to pepper Bontorin up on the feet. I feel like Bontorin will get a takedown or two in this one, but I feel like they will come later in the rounds, or he won't have, be able to maintain those positions too long. And it's really going to come down to Matt Schnell just work on the feet in this one. And I don't see a stoppage, but I do see him outboxing and putting a real boxing striking clinic on Bontorin on the feet, and that outweighing, maybe the minute or two of control time Bontorin will have in this one. Maybe a decent submission attempt or two, but Schnell been able to work his way out of it, stuff most of the takedowns, and find his way back to the feet, and outstriking Bontorin on the feet. So in this one, I have Matt Schnell by decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the the featherweight division, Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. And looking at this fight right here is I feel like this is a true picking right here. Edson Barboza has dealt well with strikers, has dealt well with pressure fighters, or to some extent, pressure wrestler fighters, not the best. Pressure fighters, for the most part, he has beaten them, but at times he has lost to pressure strikers. I feel like he won that Paul Felder fight. I feel like he won that Danny fight, but the UFC, I mean, the judges saw it the other way. But again, I feel like this is more kind of a momentum pick, even though Burgos is the one coming off a loss and Barboza is the one coming off a win. I feel like Shane Burgos will be able to pressure Barboza, keep it tight, keep it in punching range, land short chipping shots on Barboza. And Barboza will land some short chipping shots on Burgos as well, but I feel like Burgos is not going to fight at kicking range. He's going to keep his kicks active to kind of freeze up Barboza's kicks, to get in the inside, fight tight, land body shots, land upper shots, like he typically does. And that could be a recipe for him walking in counters. But again, Barboza does not fight the best when he's pressured, going back and in boxing range. Even in Dan Ige fight, Dan Ige was landing heavy shots on him. I'm not saying Dan Ige is a better striker at all. It's just saying in the Dan Ige fight, Dan Ige was able to land big shots. The fact that Dan Ige would be landing all the success in the fight, and then Barboza would clip him in just like that. Like they're doing good work. The striking's pretty close, but you're leaning him by maybe 10 or so strikes, and then he drops you. Now all of a sudden you lost a round. That's how the Dan Ige fight was. Dan Ige was looking good, gets caught, round goes to Barboza, but I guess the judges don't, like, since it's not boxing and he got dropped and they don't count as a point for getting dropped, he still won just based off landing more, but still he was the one getting hurt in the fight. And the strike total was relatively close, but Ige was getting dropped, so you should lean it to Barboza, but it is what it is. So who knows what these judges are. So again, I'm leaning this one to a decision by Burgos, pressuring, landing heavy shots, pushing Barboza back, keeping him at boxing range, keeping it in tight, and making it a Burgos type fight. Barboza can do well against these fighters at times. This is a style that will favor Burgos as far as if he can keep it at boxing range and keep it in tight and make, really take the kicks out of the equation for the most part and then make it pure hands, make it a dirty boxing matchup, be grizzled and get in the inside, land body shots, come up top. I don't think he knocks Barboza out. I think both guys get rocked in this fight. Both guys taking on the chin and, be a real exciting fight with Burgos eventually being able to prevail, being a younger, fresher fighter, and being a better inside fighter between these two. But close, tight fight, but I got Burgos winning it. So in this one, I have Shane Burgos by decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Chookagian versus Viviane Araujo. And looking at this one right here, Chookagian will be about 4 or 5 inches taller, reach is the same, but that leg reach, Chookagian is like half leg, or 85% leg, so that leg reach is going to be something different. And Araujo's fight against Jessica Eye, she really got the main event, or the main tool that allowed Jessica Eye to get that victory over Araujo was the leg kicks. Really like the inside leg kick, but kick, not in fact, just kicks in general, but especially the leg kicks. Because Araujo was doing all that movement, all that bouncing, all that unnecessary waste of energy, just bouncing in place and moving her feet, like moving angles to, like, still moving all this angling all off just to be in the same angle for whatever reason, to give a different look, or I don't know, throw off lesser strikers. I don't know what she does, but she does a lot of wasted movement. And when you're bouncing like that, you can't move your feet. So as soon as your feet come back from bouncing back to planet, bam, leg kick, bam, leg kick. And Araujo, really for the most part of that fight, didn't have no way to address it. Like, it seemed like through the first 2 rounds, like the kicks were really doing damage. But third round, I guess she kind of toughed it through and tried to make it look like those kicks did not affect her. But in that first and second round, like, she was switching stances after every single kick, or every single time she came close, because her, like, those, like, limping a little bit, but showed toughness to try to cloak it up in third round, even though it was already seen in the first and second round. But again, it was kicks, and Chookagian is a good kicker to go to, to get where I'm going with this on. Longer, but use that jab. I feel like I don't feel like Chookagian is a slower fighter, so I feel like Araujo can counter her. But again, neither of these women are necessarily great finishers, so I don't see a finish coming off of that. Obviously, Araujo is the better grappler, but I feel like Chookagian has been putting good work into her grappling and can stuff Araujo's takedowns and maybe even score some of her own. Keep it close in the grappling. I mean, I see her using those long legs to really chew up the legs of Araujo and then bring some kicks up top and really keep Araujo busy with the kicks and a good steady jab, and then follow straight behind it and just keep her busy with that. In a close striking matchup with Araujo landing the good counters, but Chookagian put up more volume and taking advantage of the opening and leg kicks on Araujo. So in this one, I have Caitlin Chookagian by decision. Now on to our co-main event. We have in the lightweight division, Tony Ferguson versus Dariush. And how I see this one right here is Tony Ferguson is on a skid. I see him trying to do different things to to I guess evolve himself or improve himself as a fighter, and work on weak areas. I guess go back and work on things. But from what I'm saying from the outside looking in, I'm not saying him do the right things to make himself better, or fix what happened to him in the past, as far as these 2-fight losing streak, and work on those areas. Going to Freddie Roach looks good, but that's really just a recipe for I'm about to retire, or I'm about to get retired. Because going to Freddie Roach at this point don't really do nothing. Like, he's a Hall of Fame coach with a lot of people around him, and so you're not really gonna get the best training. You need a good, solid coach, probably underrated coach that can give you that full time, or you could pay them to give you that full time, or the full time you need. It's not a coach that got like 100,000 people trying to train with him at all times, and high profile people, and people much more higher profile than Tony Ferguson trying to train with him on a daily basis. So you're not gonna get the best training or best stuff. And it's not like Freddie Roach is the only coach. So going to Freddie Roach just really means nothing, to be honest. Or I'm saying that now and then he's gonna make me eat my words, but really to me it means nothing. Because from what I've seen, if anything, I would say the track record of people going to Freddie Roach when they start skidding and trying to find ways to get better, I feel like it's significantly in the odds that they typically just don't get no real improvement seen, at least as far as winning wise, nothing really is seen, and really go out there and look like the same exact fighters. So I'm expecting the same Tony Ferguson for the most part. And even with the Charles Oliveira loss, it was very delusional. He's still not really admitting to that defeat. He feel like he won that fight for whatever reason. So I don't know if his ego is having issues or whatnot. But only valid point I would give him is that he said his last 2 fights he fought on short notice. Well, especially the Gaethje fight. But Gaethje was the one who came in on short notice. It was that Ferguson would just dare to take the fight on short notice. I mean, accepted the short notice replacement of Gaethje. But I believe he fought Charles Oliveira on short notice. But whatever the case is, both these fights were short notice to him, and I think he's correct on that, or at least preparing for those opponents. And he said in his last fight he only trained like 2 minutes of jiu-jitsu, so who knows? But either way, I feel like Dariush is the more polished grappler. Ferguson is definitely a high-level grappler, definitely has solid BJJ, but just like his striking, unorthodox. But I feel like Dariush has a much better base. And Tony Ferguson used to be a good wrestler, but I feel like he got away from that. I feel like that's where he should go back to his wrestling more, or get back to that more. So, and make this a striking matchup, I feel, and try to take advantage of Dariush when he's in these sloppy exchanges, because Dariush at times in every single fight does get sloppy, and I feel like that's where Ferguson should be patient and wait to capitalize. But I feel like Ferguson go out there, and be Ferguson from the jump, be wild, be off balance, and that's allow Dariush to land heavy body kicks, heavy leg kicks, throw him off balance, and get the fight to the ground. And with his solid base and polished grappling, be able to shut down Ferguson's submission attempts and really be heavy on top, and be able to float and flow on top, and just keep Ferguson on bottom and dominate the top position through 3 rounds. Dariush must come out here and be wild. I feel like he's gonna come out there. And he knows all of Dariush's loss. I mean, Dariush knows that all his losses have come to being caught, so he don't come out there trying to be wild like Ferguson. He might joke and say that. He might come out there and have moments where he's gonna do that. But really, what Dariush is gonna do, he's gonna do what has got him to the dance, what has got him to this point where he's close to a title shot, and just be smart, control the top position. I don't see him submitting Ferguson, but I can see him controlling that top position and just grinding out a decision over Ferguson on top, like kicking him, keep him off balance, even though Ferguson's already off balance, and knocking him off balance in these exchanges, and scoring takedowns, kicking out his feet, kicking out his body, kicking him off further off balance, scoring takedowns, and dominating that top position. So in this one, I have Dariush by decision. Now to our main event, we have in the lightweight division, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the undisputed lightweight title, the undisputed Khabib belt. So in this one, you got Oliveira versus Chandler. And how I see this one right here is Oliveira definitely presents a lot of challenges to Chandler, and Chandler definitely presents a lot of challenges to Oliveira. And again, the obvious, but what I can see what Oliveira bringing to Chandler is definitely, if he can mix in those leg kicks well, you got to feel concerned on Chandler's side, because he did lose a fight due to a leg kick. So I mean, maybe he went back and worked on it a little bit, but even in the second Brent Primus fight, Brent Primus fight, he was concerned about it, and did show some, he was worried about it. So if Oliveira can go there, that's a good thing for him. He lands some stepping knees to the body. He's fighting a shorter, squattier fighter, or stepping knees to the chin. And he's fighting a wrestler, so that guillotine is there. But Chandler has never been submitted, has a phenomenal heart. And one thing about Chandler, to beat him, he's not a guy that's going to quit. You got to have a real good submission, not just a kind of good submission. You got to have a good submission. And Oliveira is good for a very good submission. He's not a guy that's going to go for like one of the little 25% chance to chokes. Like somebody to have a guillotine not all the way in there, not all the way committed to it. Oliveira has definitely got a good squeeze, good grip, good understanding of his chokes and knowledge of it. He's not this guy like a wrestler that just trying to go for a guillotine or some iffy BJJ guy. He's has the most submissions in UFC history. So this guy knows his submission. So he's going to have a good lock on you. So he definitely could be the guy that can be the first to submit Chandler, but as far as in professionally, but again, Chandler's not a guy that's going to go out there easy. So you either got to put him out. Matter of fact, you got to put him out. He's not a guy that's going to quit out there like Oliveira has done. And I'm not saying the Max Holloway fight. A good example was the Paul Felder fight of Oliveira quitting. I'm not going to say Holloway fight was a true injury, but look at the Paul Felder fight. No excuses. You just literally quit. You went for like 1,000 submissions, didn't get none of them. And then the moment he dropped the elbow on you, you just quit and curled up. That was a quitting moment. You don't get that from Chandler, but you are going to get that from Oliveira. But in this big moment, you can't really just predict a guy like this to be a quitter. But you got to look at stats or look at some actual footage, actual tape, actual stuff, and not just, oh, he's going to quit. And with this one, I feel like I've seen the Kevin Lee fight. Well, I have seen the Kevin Lee fight again. And Kevin Lee was actually able to control a good portion of this fight on top. Had over 5 minutes of control time, probably even more than that at the end of the fight. And really been able to get that half guard position, being heavy on top, flattening out Oliveira. Landing some good enough ground and pound, nothing real great. At times, he did land a couple good shots when he was standing over top of Oliveira, but for the most part, just flattening him out, really neutralizing a lot of his submissions for a large portion of that second round, and landing passable ground and pound. I feel like Chandler from that same position can land heavy ground and pound. He's shorter, compact, very good at the top position, very good at neutralizing a lot of grapplers on top. Even Oliveira will be the best grappler. He has fought some real confident, real solid grapplers and been able to bust them up in the guard, bust them up from top position. I feel like Chandler can do that against Oliveira. And I feel like in this case, and also Oliveira was open to that right hand, and Chandler has a very good explosive right hand. Kevin Lee might not have no real significant power like that, but you can't allow Chandler to land that same punch. And I feel like Oliveira has necessarily changed all that much to his defense. He still fights upright like he's a marching man. So I feel like right hand will still be there, whether down the middle or around the corner. Like, whether it be a right cross or a right straight, I feel like it will be open for Chandler to land, be able to buzz Oliveira from there, be able to duck under, land big explosive takedowns. Just avoid going for singles, which will open his neck up to those guillotine chokes, into those front chokes that Oliveira is very dangerous with. And even if he does get him, I feel like Chandler is experienced enough and powerful enough and conditioned enough to be able to get a powerful takedown and to be able to pass the legs of Oliveira beside him so he can get a side position and get a side control and not be in a half guard with a guillotine on him or a full guard with the guillotine on him, and be able to alleviate some of that pressure of Oliveira, land body shots to wear this choke down, and be able to power through and tough his way through and wear out Oliveira. And I definitely think he can outlast Oliveira in this one, but a very tough, very hard fought fight. But I feel like Chandler really just put it in pace on him in every portion of this fight. I feel like Oliveira is going to try to put the pace on him, but I feel like Chandler's going to be able to maintain the pace, be able to land the heavier shots, and be able to take this fight where Oliveira is best at. Like, yes, Oliveira has good submissions, good transitions, good sweeps and all that, but Chandler is heavy on top, experienced, the faster scrambler, the faster transitioner, and be able to maintain those top positions, land heavy ground and pound, eventually outlast, outwork, and break down Oliveira, and really allow this fight taking in where Oliveira is supposed to be best out on the ground, and landing big, hard elbows and short chopping elbows and busting Oliveira within his own guard and in half guard. And even at that point, maybe even get a mount. But I'm going to say more half guard and full guard position, landing elbows and being able to take an... I sound like I'm making a Michael Jackson video, but either way, being able to take advantage of Oliveira where he's best at and breaking him mentally and then stopping him in the third round. So in this one, I have Michael Chandler via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 262, Oliveira versus Chandler. And as always, thanks for watching.